Okay, hopefully that recording goes to Nolan's account so he can post it on school. But anyways, Richard, on that LOI with the whole cash offer thing, we got some really good stuff in the works. We have investors on our line all the time who are like, guys, I need to get rid of all this cash that I have sitting here. There are doctors, like cardiologists, lawyers, people who just have businesses and have a bunch of cash and don't have the desire, like you guys, to go off and actually manage the acquisition of these deals. So, what I have been kind of telling them that we can maybe work out with them is they have their own kind of criteria that they're looking for in an investment, whether it's real estate or whatever. Maybe they want liquidity, maybe they want high returns, maybe they have a different type of risk appetite. Um, Whether they want to buy something vacant and take a risk for the potential upside, or they want to buy something more stabilized and just receive kind of a passive cash flow. Everybody's a little bit different. Most people are pretty open to ideas, but what I have been telling them is kind of like, um, you guys, not you guys, but you investors tell me what you're looking for, and I'll tell you guys what to go look for as far as an investment to put their money to work. So it's great that they have that risk appetite to go out there and actually acquire these vacant buildings with all of us. So if we can put together some sort of appetizing offer for them to throw their money into one of these things, that would be some really interesting business going on.
What did I miss there, Zane? Sorry, guys. Hello, everyone. I was a
Good.
few minutes behind. This is
Good, good.
this is my son Pryor, by the way. Can you say hey?
Hey, Pryor.
Yeah, he's my director of acquisition. I would say
Hey,
this.
he's
Zane
taking
is
my job.
number two behind Zane. Yeah. Can you say bye? Say thanks. Say I'll see you later. Okay, they're gonna go to the park and go have some fun. All right. Now go with Kiki girl. Go with Kiki girl, please. Okay. Be right back. Be right back. Hang on. Okay. So I saw there's a couple of people that have some stuff going on right now. Um, Here, Parker. Sorry, guys. Go keep me bear. Okay, I'm back and forth. I was walking up. I told Zane I was going to be a few minutes behind. I was walking a building. I got a couple of pictures. I wonder if it will upload on my computer that quickly. But so again, Happy New Year. Talked to you guys a week or so ago. Richard, I think I saw an email come through this morning. We had a funeral this morning, so I haven't really been dialed in like I usually am. So, um, anybody got anything going right now? Like I'm excited. I'm juiced up. What's been going on with everybody? Anybody got anything popping?
Well, I know Richard's got those LOIs popping. Zach's
Yeah,
got a deal. Some other guys have some deals going on. I
sweet.
don't put them on the spot, but this is you
I
guys'
saw
time.
I saw Matt's email too. Matt sent an email too.
Right.
Ratliff just earlier too. I just have not gotten to it. Just have not gotten to it. So, um, awesome.
Yeah, I'll just speak real quickly about mine. I've got
Yeah.
four opportunities that I've vetted pretty well. I've walked most of the properties as
You
well.
mind if I show them, Richard? Do you mind if I share your email? Are you
Go
okay
right
with it?
ahead. Go right
Okay.
ahead.
All
Go right
right.
ahead.
Just so everyone
Uh,
can be on the same page.
yeah.
Go. Yeah.
So, a couple of them I'm pretty excited about. I think there's some opportunity there. I just want to make sure that um, I was telling Zane before you got on, Nolan, that the only piece I'm not really knowing how to do is the all cash offer piece. I've got the seller refinancing worked out on my pro formas for each of these four properties. The brokers are all really good brokers. I've developed relationships with three or four guys here in the North Georgia space, and they're sending me deals almost on a weekly basis, which is great. So, as we talked about last time, I'm just doing. My goal is just to do as many reps as possible and use the pro formulas to spit out some LOIs and just see what happens. I hate to say see what sticks, but a lot of these offers may be perceived as low balls, but that's okay. It's got to work for us too. Um, but anyway, so that's kind of where we are. Those four there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to review all this, but it looks like there's some some action being taken, which is, I mean, that's the name of the game.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
you
it's
can see what basically what I've laid out there, and Zane and I talked about this earlier this week or last week. I can't remember. It took me a little while to get to this. I had some work stuff to do, but all four of these properties are either got triple net leases that are pretty long and got
absolutely, yeah.
escalators in them. They fit all of our buy box criterion, and the brokers are pretty excited about offer sending out an LOI. So they're all on me. Hey, you ready? Let's go. Let's get this thing out. So we'll see. We just got to see if the
Yeah,
numbers are going to fly.
you might be in the same boat. Anytime I see like a really pretty, whatever you want to call this, like a flyer like this, I'm like, ooh, the prettier the flyer, usually the lower the cap rate.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty. I'm like, ooh, I got an email. Let me see if I can find it without like just sharing everything. Like, check this out. Like, Brian Phillips, this dude sends me an email. Is it this guy? No, a different guy. I don't know. Well, I could pull it up, but the email was like so, it was like so, this is more than you guys care to know or hear or whatever. Here it is. Here. Yeah, check this out. So this is the listing that this dude sent me. It was just this. So there was like no flyer, there was no like again pretty pictures or anything. It was just like, hey, 25 sites located across 10 states. Here's the portfolio, here's the info on it. Here's what it throws off. No, it's the offer, it's unpriced. It has a net income of $2.2 million. So we got on a call a couple of days ago and discussed it. And so it'll be a big one, which would be pretty sweet. But I don't know how it's like in a family office kind of trust thing or whatever. Um, so I don't know. But what I'm getting at though is that that's not a fancy one. So maybe the guy's motivated or not. Who knows? Anybody else? What else is happening I had some positive news, unless somebody else wants to go first. I had a good day on some stuff. I wonder if anybody else had stuff they're working on.
Hey, sorry, real quick. I know that's actually I really want to hear about that, but I was just curious because you were
Yeah.
talking about that family office type thing, and I've been getting some deals sent to me from a family office guy. I think I kind of mentioned to you a little bit before, where it's like, you know, it's like a 10,000 square foot building on like that 6 acres thing, and it's looking kind of around the acreage for a possible like growth aspect to increase the income. But I mean they're pretty solid, they're pretty firm on like a, because typically I would try to be around a 10 cap, but they're about a $4 million purchase price. They're willing to hold 10%, so looking for like a 400 grand down, and I mean it would be over a 10% cash on cash return. But I mean, I'm not sure if that's something that I would be, want to send to you guys to try to see if we could send to some people for some investors for the capital and stuff. But it's a 10-year absolute triple net lease, with a company that's got $10 million in the bank. So I feel like that'd be a pretty solid thing. But I don't know if that's something that you think the investors you guys talk to would be interested in.
Well,
I'll be
all
willing
right.
to take
So
a look
Parker,
at it.
go ahead. What's that?
I was just saying I'll be willing to take a look at it too. Anything better than 10% cash on cash, and they're willing to leave money in the deal for sure.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send it your way
100%.
or anytime.
Let's just look at the math on this real quick. So you said it's 10,000 square feet, Parker.
Yeah, it's like 992 or something, but I just said 10,000. So
Let's just say 10,000 square feet. You said they're offering at $4 million.
$4 million.
$4 million. And the rent's got to be, what is that? I guess 25
I think it
grand.
was 305,000 annually, I believe. 350.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So 25,000 a month gets it at global of 3, but closer to like 27.5. a month. Gets it to 330 a year. Is that where it's ballparking? So if you get the interest rate at 7.25, and you got the, the equity that you got to inject is, say they're going to hold 10%. Is that what you said?
10%. Yeah. So they were looking for, they said that they actually said they had some lenders who would do that. They just need someone to bring 400 grand plus $35,000 in closing costs.
All right. Well, that's basically what, 400,000 at, call it 6%. I mean, it's tight. Yeah, you gotta, you tell me. I'm just looking at the numbers right here. A $4 million purchase, those off 300 grand a year, 330,000. Your debt service is 300,000. Am I crazy? At 80% loan to value? Am I missing something here? $400 a foot? That's pretty expensive for light industrial.
Yeah, well, the reason it's so like high per foot is because it's like a trailer and hitch company, so they have like all their stuff spread out throughout the 6 acres that it's on. So it's like an office on the 9,000 square foot, and then like for a little bit of industrial, and then it's like the rest of it is they're
Like
utilizing.
outdoor industrial.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna screenshot this and send this in the group so you guys can all see this, what he sent me.
Okay.
And
Oh, yeah. Well, we can work through that, of course.
yeah,
What else is anybody else working on? I'll give you guys a quick synopsis. I had shown I have a tenant over on in Birmingham that just is like busting at the seams for space. They're in 7,500 feet. And I have another tenant that is month to month and 27,000 square feet. For those that we didn't walk either of those buildings for the summit, but another big large property, 27,000 feet. And he said, "Hey, do you have anything else available? Like we got a couple new contracts. Like we're going gangbusters." I'm like, "That's awesome." So I said, I'm on this other month to month, and this is like kind of an idea. Like once we start owning property, like how you can come up with stuff. This has all happened. This is happening in like the last 2 hours. So I'm pumped up. I haven't shared it with anybody. I guess you guys are first. I my wife. But long story short, we have been talking back and forth, and he's like, "Hey, we'd love to lease the space. We just need to cut out like a 16-foot, roll out door. We need to have like a concrete loading dock and fence and gravel at the east lot of the building. Secure it." I said, "All right." Because I was a little worried about this facility because it has a mezzanine in there, and sometimes that turns people off, and it would be expensive to take that mezzanine out. I mean, it's like 35, ceiling height. It's pretty tall, but that mezzanine's in there. Well, these guys were like, "Well, this is a perfect location for us, whatever." So I told my existing tenant, "Hey, you got 45 days to vacate, so my other tenant can move into this from 7,500 feet to 27,000 feet." And then now my dog's gonna wake up my other kid, so that's really great. And then from there, they're gonna move in, gonna give them a month of free rent for just the move from the existing site to the new site. But the key was that we did is they need like some vinyl plank flooring in the office, like the whole thing. Well, I just offered them another 2 months of free rent for them to knock out and construct the roll up door and the vinyl plank flooring in the office. And again, because they have 3 years left on their existing lease, so I negotiated with them there. Again, they're in glass supply, so they don't really think about like the real estate side of it. Like, if you give me a couple of months for free, I'll do it all myself the way that they want to do it on a 7-year lease. But on top of it, which is badass, I called my existing tenant. I said, "Hey, you got 45 days to vacate. Like, we've been on the same page for this from a while. We've been month to month for like over a year." And she's like, "Shit, all right, now I'm in a real spot." But he goes, "Do you have?" I said, "Yeah, it's actually one of my existing tenants." He's like, "Really? So they're moving out of their existing space?" I was like, yeah, they are. He's like, well, that's really funny because he's in blind distribution. He needed something for the paint line on their property for their product. And so I think he's going to move into their building. So I'm basically just going to like swap them, and I'm going to increase both rents on both sides without losing any occupancy. So I don't know. It's kind of wild. I just discovered this like 2 hours ago, and yeah, you guys are the first on the scene to hear this. So I just wanted to share that because that was a pretty cool little base hit win that doesn't happen all that often, I guess. But we're moving the ball down the field, so
That's
that
awesome.
was kind of unique, pretty cool, I guess. So yeah, I'm gonna be so what I'm doing is I'm gonna send my guy 45 days to vacant a letter just of notice, so he'll be out by March 1st, and then my other guy's gonna be moving in, which is awesome because now I'll be able to refinance the building, pull out probably 250 or so, and then like I said, I'm giving him 3 months of free rent. And another thing too that is kind of fun is I call my banker who's become a friend, and I'm like, hey, this is kind of what we're thinking about doing. And I didn't really even like offer anything. He's like, well, just let me know. We'll figure it out. Like, we'll just figure it out. Whatever. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. Because he knows that that's a great, like, that business that they're running has a strong profit margin. And when they see, when he's like, hey, these guys are going to move in for 7 years, he's more like, well, let's just do whatever you need, whatever you need for TI, we'll just make it work. So that's kind of a fun relationship, I'd say, that I've just, with that local bank that banker that I think we're all, chasing, I guess. So that was a fun event, and that's why I was a few minutes late. Well, I was watching another facility too, but trying to make it work. So yeah,
Hey,
basic plan, I guess.
Nolan, it's Mike Musgrove. Hey, yeah, I've
Mike,
got a few things working. One of them is vacant property that's kind of centralized in my town, but it has a drainage easement that's going down the middle of it. So it may just be a lay down yard for construction. I watched one of your videos saying that you had like done some stuff with lay down yards. About what a square foot does centrally located in a downtown area lay down yard go for?
well, that's tough. That's tough to say. I mean, I don't know. I mean, each municipality is different, especially with their easements. Like I said, I was walking a facility this afternoon, and they have a similar easement going through their building, and they said that the upkeep with the EPA is like through the freaking roof. Like they have like hyper sensitivity with the EPA because they have a trucking business that paints trucks, and they deal with um, just like I don't know, like concrete, like overflowed concrete. So they have like all of these regulations. They have an easement going through it. What's that? Oh, did I miss something? Um, so, but basically, like it's hard to tell. I mean, those outdoor industrial storages, the outdoor facilities, the reason why I think they're so valuable is just because municipalities do not rezone property for outdoor storage. You cannot. You go to municipality. I could be wrong, but a lot of municipalities are just not rezoning real estate for outdoor storage. So they're having to go off the existing zoning, and that's where if you've got like an M1, which is kind of that global industrial, then you obviously in good shape. But I don't know much about you know easements with the EPA or anything like that. So I mean, I think each municipality is going to be different depending upon your tenant. Like, what are they willing to pay? That's probably the best question, the best answer to ask.
Yeah, it's just that this property, so with the easement going through it, can't really build a building on it. So it's connected to another company. Company doesn't want it because because there's an easement going through it, so they can't build anything on it. And I was like, well, I might pick it up kind of cheap and just do it as a lay down yard. So even if I had to dig and put some pipe under it for that drainage to go through, still might not be able to build on it, but just have a lay down yard for something. So I
Well,
didn't
think
know.
about this. Think about this, because I'm going through a similar situation on a facility on a property near a couple other buildings I have. I bought it for the back taxes, did this whole thing. It's this big old. It might be even the video that you're talking about, Mike. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's right.
sure,
It was.
but
It
it's
was.
this big. Yeah, it's this big parcel, probably like 2.5 acres, and it's got those other tiny little buildings and the adjacent parcels. What if you did something where you just built like a 2,000 square foot warehouse on the parcel that did not, cross over that easement, and then you just used the rest of it as the laydown yard? You could rent it to like a dumping or trucking company, and then your little facility that only needs 2,000 feet for office for somebody to manage it, you can fence it, gravel it, secure it, grade it, and you're not having to actually build across that easement and deal with
That's
the city.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Approximately what were you getting rent for that? Because we're kind of close together in cities, so
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to get $10 a foot on like 2,000 feet. I've got a building that is 5,600 feet, and I'm getting like $14 a foot, but that's in Trussville, which is like northeast Birmingham, which is kind of a nicer area.
fire
I'm getting
area.
like
Yeah.
$14 a foot. So if you got something that's like industrial, and you got something to trade from $8 to $10 a foot, plus you add another $3, or because I want to say, gun to my head, I want to say that somebody would rent per year $5,000 a year per acre. That's what, a gun to my head, for some reason, I think is like the right. So if you had 2,000 square feet or 3,000 square feet of warehouse or office, basically, you rented that for $10 a foot. So now you got, was that 30,000 a year, plus you
Mm.
had 2 acres, hypothetically, you might be able
Right.
to rent that in your space for 40 grand, ballpark.
Okay. Perfect.
Values you're building at anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 of value
I,
intrinsically.
I see where we're going.
Yeah.
Next question. I got some stuff that I'm sort of working on in Mississippi, but the building itself has an apex of the roof is 16 feet, but it has a very low grade roof on it, and it goes down to 8 feet. So I know you say to always stay around the 16 foot, but is your rule 16 foot at the apex or 16 foot from the lowest point? I guess your rule of thumb.
Man, I like to go from the corners if I can.
Yeah.
Not that it's right or wrong, but I know that if I could, if I'm a business owner, I'm probably wanting to make sure that, on the corners, if I've got like some type of lift or loader or something, I want to make sure that my equipment can get through the smallest portion of that building versus thinking about the top, right? Like and I also feel like it'd be a little unfair to advertise something for 25 feet when in reality in the corners, if it was pitched like this, where the
Hmm.
corners are 12 feet, but the pitch is 25, that would be a little misleading. And I don't really want to get off out of the gate with a tenant or a prospective buyer, me misleading them out of the gate.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, I guess.
I totally agree with you. I kind of left it with the broker. I was like, look, if you have somebody that's wanting to rent this place out and get a triple net lease from them, then and they don't have the funds to purchase it, but they want to do a triple net long-term lease, then give me a call back and I may be interested in buying it. But it's just going to be a hard rent with the low ceilings on the corners, like you were saying. So, well, okay,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Cool. 100%. Yeah. Anybody else? What else are you guys working on? What else can like I said, I wanted to mention this too for those that have not already. I want to say, Zane, you might have a better thought on this, but just on our Respark program that we're rolling out on Monday, I want to make sure everybody got their email for that. That's essentially just kind of our souped up accountability program. So it's not going to be really like going through um, deals like what we do every week here, but really what it's going to be focused on is introducing people in our group to get a little out of their comfort zone and give you some more homework on top. Hey, you got to go do a dialogue with another member. One's going to be a banker, you're going to be the investor. The dialogue, the conversation, the vocabulary to use, the inflection in your voice that you use when you're asking questions, you guys record it, you guys can upload it for Zane, we can go over it. Like the whole point of it is just to it sounds funny, but like get your head a little hot, get a little uncomfortable, feel a little not embarrassed, but just like not something that you usually do every day, especially meeting somebody new. So that's the whole point of this, is to give you some I don't know, practice before you actually go sit in front of a banker or a broker, you walk the facility, that kind of thing. The whole point is just to get people to get reps in the cage before they go out on the field, if that makes sense. Does anybody have a thought or question on that before we kind of keep on moving forward? Cool. Zane, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people just aren't on those 8-week weekly calls with myself anymore. And so this is just a great way for me to get back on and Nolan get back on with everybody just in one go. So that you guys can just start kind of hitting the ground running again, restarting or resparking as we like to call it. So that's all.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, what I mean, like I said, the point of this call, and I don't know how I've just done this. I've got like, I don't know, on my Zoom. Does anybody have other deals that they're currently working on that they'd like me to underwrite? Questions or things that they're working through right now that we can kind of go over? Like, I think this is kind of like a maintenance call every single week on top of all of the other recordings that we have. So I wanted to put it out to you guys, like what else is on y'all's mind? That way we can help you guys take some action this coming week and, just again, keep moving the ball forward. Does anybody have anything else kind of moving forward like this right now? Okay.
Can't hear you, Griffin. Can any, can anybody else hear Griffin, or is it just me?
Nothing.
Griffin, it might be because your AirPods or something like that.
Maybe there you go.
Hear me now?
There you
Yeah.
go. Good.
All right, change my computer. So Zach and I are working on a deal together, and there's a contingency on there that we
Nice.
put in. One of the tenants is month to month.
Okay.
And so I was just curious. I know you talked to me. I've asked this question before about like approaching that tenant to, go to triple net. Will you bring a physical copy of the lease with you and try to like pretty much close them right there and get them to sign it? Or how does that conversation look like?
I would not do that. Not telling you what to do. I don't. Those leases are usually need to be reviewed by their own attorney, especially if they're a decent business. They're going to
Makes
want to
sense.
have their attorney review it. And so if you want, you can probably just place in like, the 15th page, like Alabama, Auburn, Iron Bowl tickets or something and see if that attorney can like catch it. He probably will. My father-in-law used to always do that with his leases. Um, Jokingly, he would put like on the 15th page, like Iron Bowl tickets just to see if the guy was actually reading through it or not.
Oh my
But
God.
I thought it was kind of funny. Then the guy always caught it, and the other guy was always paying for it. But what I would recommend doing, man, is again, we talk about the LOIs all the time, like just give it, and especially if you're going to go sit down with them in person. Again, this is my recommendation. This is what I like to do. I don't like to show up with paperwork. I think paperwork gets people a little uncomfortable. It makes them feel like they're signing a legitimate contract when they sign a lease, right? It's a pretty big deal, especially for a business owner, whether they're renewing a lease or signing a new lease. Okay. So they have a little bit of anxiety because they're not professionals, they're not attorneys that know how to review contracts, right? So if you roll up there with this, stack that's this large with 60 pages and say sign on this dotted line, they're immediately going to get intimidated and they're going to dig their heels in and they're not going to want to work with you like that. Well, they're going to start like pinpointing everything. So what I like to do instead is I like to, again, spend the first 10, 15 minutes just like asking them questions about themselves. I don't talk about the deal. Like the deal will come. Like I say it in a lot of our videos, like don't lead in with like, I mean, literally we were at, my broker Sam and I, we were just walking a site over in Leeds, which is right down the street from the Goldenrod building I own. I'll have to make a video. I mean, it's awesome. I'm going to hopefully buy it. But the dude is from Finland. We spent the first 20 minutes talking about how Finland has a game like baseball in America, but it's different. And we spent, I don't even know, I don't forget the guy's name even is, but we just talked about this game of baseball that's in Finland. And so now I didn't talk anything about the lease, about buying anything. It was all about the dude. That's all it was. It's talking about the guy. Because when you like, when it gets like more on like a personal level, and you're just like becoming pals, and you just say, look, we're trying to help you. I'm a seller consultant, right? You could be like a landlord or a tenant consultant if that's the case. If you want to, word yourself that way. I mean, you want to get crazy. Why not print out, go buy something on Etsy for $20, print out 500 cards that just says tenant consultant and seller consultant. Like it'd be crazy, but it's little things like that. You say, I'm just a tenant consultant. This is what I do for a living. I consult with tenants. I consult with sellers, right? Whatever. It's a little cheesy, but you build that rapport out of the gate, and then you say, look, this is what a lease looks like. You can bring that paper with you. This is what the whole lease looks like, but this is not for you and I. This is for our attorney. It's for your attorney to review and to poke holes in. The whole point is for you and I right now is we're just going to sit down and discuss the actual terms that are important to you. You don't mention anything about yourself, about your business, about you and rent and the bank and all that that's not important. What attributes of this lease are important to you? What about this building is important to you? And then you flip one of the pages over, you whip out your Sharpie, and you just start doing check boxes, checkbox, checkbox. And you just start wording out this building, this thing was leaking in the corner. All right, perfect. Leak in the corner. You write it down. But the whole point is now he just like he's lowered himself to your level. He's like, oh, this guy really is out here just wanting to work with me and figure this out. He's way more likely to work with you versus you being like, oh, I want to just close them this afternoon. Don't think of yourself as like a salesman right there. Think of yourself like, how can I help you succeed in your business? And then, by the way, this whole contract here is for your attorney to review and to poke holes in. But let's just chop down right now what attributes are going to be important for you to continue to run your business and lease this space. List out a couple of them. That sounds awesome. I'm going to put together a letter of intent that I'm going to email you for your review with all the things, the items that you just mentioned. Bullet point them out, bold them on that LOI. He's going to know that he was heard, number one, which creates more of a relationship with him. And he's going to be, anytime something comes up in the future after he's rented from you, he's going to always know that, you're on his side because of how much, even the first 15 minutes that you spent with him. I think it's totally just a personal relationship out of the gate that creates like the long-term, business relationship after that. Because the lease is going to just have the legal vocabulary. But dude, if you can hammer out those like tiny little items that are important to him, the rest of it will be easy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So you're not even talking numbers or anything like what you think. Okay.
I mean, well, you mentioned if you have a good game plan going in where you're like, okay, the most important thing to you is renewal. Let's say that he's already there and he's month to month, like you just said. Your most important piece is renewal, the length of the lease, and the price per foot, right? Those are your keys that you're trying to get out of him, right? So when you're speaking with him, he's going to go through the things that are important to him, right? You're going to list them out, you're going to box them up, whatever. And then after he's like, well, those are really the kind of the things that right now that are jumping out to me. And that's when you say, well, that's perfect. What kind of length of how much longer do you envision yourself staying here? A question like that, and like not saying like how much longer do you want to lease? How much further along in the future do you envision yourself sticking in this facility? Like using that type of vocabulary. What's a fair price that you feel like? Do you know what everybody else is around here paying? What do you feel is a fair price in rent, in this location, right? You're not asking for anything. You're just like, you're questioning things. You're inquisitive. You're curious. And that's going to open him up to, again, like lower his guard and be way more open to you. How long you want to stick around, this, that, and the other. What's a fair price? Do you feel like, what do you feel is a good price in this location? And then he'll tell you what he feels, which, might be higher than maybe what you were expecting or lower. And then you can come together. But I think if you just put the ball in his court like that, it's going to help you. You'll become a way better negotiator. You'll be a better listener. You're going to be a great, it's very easy at that point to create an LOI with all of those terms. And most importantly, you spent all of your time listening to what was important to him. And then you asked him questions that were also going to be important to him. And so that way from there, he's going to be like, man, well, what's the next thing that I got to do? Like, how can I partner with you? Because that's when you say, well, the next steps for us are logical. This whole stack, You need to have your attorney review this. First, I'm going to send you an LOI, blah, 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 blah. But most importantly, let's handle all of these terms that you were just discussing, and let's figure out how we can come together as a team. Because that's the key. Like, remember mentioning, like, it's you and him versus the government. Like, the government's always the bad guy. Like, you always position yourself on the same side of the table. Uncle Sam is the bad guy. So when you position it that way, it's going to make it so much easier for him to want to work with you because you're not against each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just answer your question? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Hey,
Awesome.
Nolan, can I
Yeah.
just ask a question? One of the things that I hear you saying, and I wholeheartedly agree with, the other thing that I just thought I'd just jump in and might mention just for a moment is from a business owner's perspective, the lost cost of opportunity in moving, in the headache and the process, the interruption of business is most likely to most business owners their greatest concern.
Sure.
And so, it's almost as if you can position it, not saying that you're going to kick him out or anything like that, but maybe just asking open-ended questions like, if you were to move, what kind of cost do you think that would cost you to do, or just somehow placing just getting the wheels turning. So obviously you're on his side, but then additional to that, get him thinking him that you understand and and you identify, not that you're threatening with him, but you understand that. And I think that would also maybe create some urgency to make a little decision there. So just a little thought.
No, I think it's a great thought, Matt. And to go a step further on that, when most business owners, first of all, the biggest piece is their location. Not the biggest, but one of the biggest is their location. Their customers know, some of their partners of distribution know where their location is. If they move across town, they might lose half of their customer base, and their distributing partner might not know where they go, and they might look elsewhere, right? But they also way underestimate, I could be wrong, Matt, you might be able to educate me further, but I believe that a lot of business owners, if they decide to move from their location to another, they very, very highly underestimate that total cost of moving. Like like I said, I got that tenant right now at Jefferson that's going to be moving across town, and he not only doesn't discover like how expensive it is to move, how time consuming it is, how he's going to have to hire essentially new workers because he's going about 30 miles down the road from where his existing site is. But on top of that, he's not considering this. When you go spend 3 months, or in this case, it's going to be about 45 days of moving your business to a new facility, that's 45 days essentially of product not being built or assembled or shipped. He's going to spend another 5 days onboarding into the new facility. So that's a global of 90 days. And this is just one dude. Imagine if it was longer. Imagine if it was 6 months, half of a year. That's half of a year of time that he's not able to go out and sell and produce and put together his product or his widget to sell out in the marketplace. That's a big deal. And that's a huge opportunity cost, like you said, Matt. So it almost makes sense for guys to, once they stay in that facility for a certain amount of time, hit them with that urgency of like, this is a large cost. Most people don't consider this, business owner guy. You've got to consider this. And if you don't, that's okay. But know that there's probably a 2 or sometimes 2.5, 3x global cost of moving that is actually unforeseen. You can kind of quantify the cost of losing sales and moving and things like that. But I don't think it's very quantifiable how many customers and distribution partners some guys will lose. That's been my observation and experience. Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, I just recently signed a lease with one of my tenants, and it went back to, I gave him the option. I said, look, I've got to go up. I was on a progressive lease, but the lease was getting ready to renew. And I knew my value was going up. I was wanting to refinance the building. I knew I had plans on my own, and I knew that I needed to make a significant jump on him. And so I just sat down with him and we started discussing the opportunity cost and what it would mean. And it really came down to, he decided on his own with some encouragement from me that it would take him about 6 months to get completely back up and running, get reset. And that business is, they're about $100,000 a month net income. So that's about a $300,000 loss, essentially, potentially, in income. So if I'm going up on the lease, $40,000, to him, that's a no-brainer. You know, it was a, hey, how quickly can I sign? And, you know, so instead of it being a, Matt's the bad guy, or, you know, I'm trying to put him in a bad position, it actually came out to, you know, a thank you. And I appreciate it. So, you know, that was a huge motivator in that case. And I think for most business owners, that's bigger than anything else, you know?
100%. And I think one thing that you're doing too, Matt, and for everyone here, is that first conversation. Matt, I'm sure you did not discover this overnight, or you didn't just develop that ability and vocabulary and confidence overnight. But that first meeting with a tenant or business owner can be a little intimidating, where you're like, okay, I don't know really what I'm saying. I'm not an expert yet. I'm just trying to figure it out. So you have like a fear. But if you can put yourself in that business owner's shoes, remember, like he's not thinking about, real estate. Remember, he's not a real estate investor. He is a business owner. He's a widget producer or developer or distribution guy, whatever it is. He's using your piece of real estate as a conduit for him to make money through his business. So he doesn't look at the rents or things like that the way that you do as a landlord. So especially when it comes to debt service and things like that. So if you can know that you have if you can almost imagine yourself as an advisor to him and be like, look, here's the math behind this, because he's running his business, he's doing his thing. You can say, look, this is what it's going to cost you. This is what it would cost you if you did something else. And you just present him options. He's just trying to do what's best for his business, his family. He's trying to put food on the table like that. But if you can know that you have, not that you're high and mighty or smarter than him, but just this like advising role, it's going to lower your anxiety. It's going to give you confidence the next time that you speak with a tenant or a potential seller or an owner user, if that makes sense. 100%, Matt.
Yeah. And the last thing I would just say is that neutral ground is very important. So, you know, I would never negotiate or try to put yourself in a position where you're at their property or you're at your office. Like, grab a beer, sit down at a restaurant, you know, put yourself in a position where, you know, you're treating them like friends or family. And people are going to open up a lot more, at least in my opinion, open a lot more on that level than they would when you're on their turf and you're trying to maybe take from them. You know, the idea, I agree with what you said in the beginning. That's super important, is building a rapport. Spend more time building a rapport, and the close and everything else should just come into play.
Yeah, I feel like after the conversation gets going, inevitably the dialogue will come up about the reason y'all are sitting down. But it doesn't ever hurt if you've got a couple of ales in you too. That can always loosen the work up too. Naturally, yeah. I like doing that, of course, like everybody else does. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have anything? I mean, Mike or Matt, appreciate you mentioning that. That's great insight that all of us can use. 100%.
I have one other question.
Yeah, man.
So in the property that Zach and I are looking at, it's like 1,175,000. The seller is gonna leave 30% in the deal.
Nice.
And then, since me and Zach are both young, we're like 24 years old. I also talked to have a buddy that I work with. He was offering to fund our business bank account, like give us like 30K to help cover like closing costs, escrow, all that good stuff.
Okay.
But what is that a dumb idea first? Is that okay? And then second, how would I set up like the equity split? Cause it's such a small percentage, of the price, but he is still like helping us. So I just didn't know.
Don't give him any ownership. Don't give him any ownership. Just give him an interest rate.
Okay.
Just be like, whatever the cash flow is, like you and your, who are you partnering with, Griffin?
Zach.
Okay, you and Zach, when you guys are walking this, you guys are going to do this deal. Let's say you close it yesterday. Don't give this guy that's letting you essentially borrow $30,000. Don't give him any ownership. Like, the whole point of this is to retain. That's the reason why we want to have the seller leave money in the deal, is so you can retain more ownership.
Right.
Because y'all gonna find a way to increase the value, renew the leases, do it, figure that whole thing out, which increases the value, which is something he really didn't even come on. He just brought some cash, right? So, and it's the same thing when you have a partner that brings the equity, the down payment, and you give up ownership. That's a fair trade. But if the guy can leave money in the deal and take a second position, don't give up any ownership to this guy. Just be like, hey, we'll pay you 8% on your money and we'll balloon you in 24 months or something, right? Like, or just let your cash flow from your building. Don't take a dime. You and Zach, don't take a dime of cash flow until that guy's paid off. Like, just funnel all that cash flow back to him to where you pay him off and then you still own that property. Just y'all two. Y'all two can be 50-50 or however you guys negotiate it. That would be my highest recommendation is do not give ownership to somebody that doesn't have the same like tenacity as what you guys have. That'd be the hill that I'd die on, at least, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Griffin, if that guy doesn't want to do the $30,000 for an interest rate, I'm sure we could find somebody. So just let me know.
Yeah, there's somebody around somewhere. I mean, somebody's got a home equity line of credit that you could borrow 30 grand from for 24 months. I mean, there's plenty of ways to make something happen.
Yeah.
It's not 3 million,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. He's been working in sales for like 15 years. Like he's got money. I know there's a ton of people who have the lower capital like that would just help out.
Yeah, 100%. Who else? Anybody else got something that's on their mind before we get moving? Awesome. All right. Well, here's what we'll do. I want to be clear. This is we'll record this. I think this might be on your computer, Zane. We'll upload this to school. Also, we're gonna have our next live call on Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Central. So the whole point of these calls essentially is for everyone to, again, to kind of do what we're doing right now. We want to kind of be on the same page like this, can kind of be in and out, whenever something's going on. But bring your deals, if we want to, we can always go and underwrite deals live. We can do, the whole song and dance is kind of, there's not really a whole lot of itinerary on this. I think it's kind of good because we're able to all chop. I see Ariana's little girlie right there. That's so cute. Hey. And I just think it's great when all of us can be on the same page like this, but just stay diligent with the boot camp as you're going through it. That's going to help you as you're just progressing and building your foundation of just understanding of how this commercial real estate stuff works. And then when you do have something, hit Zane and I up. We're ready to rock and roll. And I know we have Michael Smith on. I don't know if he's on this call or not, but the fact that he has a business that literally funds earnest money and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we just don't have any excuses, I guess, if that makes excuses in the right word, but we have no reason why we cannot succeed. Like absolutely no reason. We've got all the pieces in the puzzle. Now we just got to put them on the page and make it work. So, extremely bullish, extremely excited. Yeah, I'm really, really pumped. I think we got a lot of things going. So anybody else have anything else before we get moving, before we see each other again on Tuesday?
Great call.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone making on. If you have anything else on y'all's mind, shoot us a text. You've got our information. Just get with us. We're just fired up about where things are moving. All right. Awesome. Guys, y'all have a great evening. All right. Thanks so much for making it. Talk to you guys then. Thanks.
Thank you guys.